Hello everyone, Psycho Mantis here, and as we say goodbye to 2019, what better way for me to signal that than by making yet another Game of the Year video, this time for 2019. Yeah, 2019 was the year for games, I guess. Frankly honest, I struggled to get through most games I played through this year. Either I couldn't be arsed, or the game just wasn't worth my effort. Saying that though, I do have the minimum 5 games required for this list, so let's jump right into them. Starting at number 5 is Metro Exodus, and okay, this one's kind of a cheeky mention because I'm going to be real, I haven't actually finished this game. I'm probably about halfway done with this game, but saying that, what I have played so far was extremely solid. I like the direction the writing was going, I like the characters, I like the gameplay a lot. It feels like a much more refined version of the previous games which were already solid titles by themselves. Audio wise, it's extremely solid. Graphically, I mean it's a Metro game using the 4A engine, of course it looks beautiful. I really don't have much to say about this title because again, I never finished it, so I can't say much on the story half, but from what I got of it, if you like the previous Metro games, you'd like this one a lot. At number 4 is The Outer Worlds, a game that is clearly a spiritual successor to Fallout in some ways, as it basically rips off a lot of what that game has. The gameplay is quite literally a refined version of Fallout in space, so you can take that whatever way you want. Personally, I liked it a lot because I like Fallout a lot. There were things I haven't seen before that I thought worked really well, like the disguise system with how if you enter the restricted area with a certain ID, then you'd be disguised for a short time in that area. I like the space setting, not as much as the post-apocalyptic America setting, but I thought it looked extremely solid. Graphically, the game is fine, it's not overly amazing, but it looks good, much better than Fallout 4. Audio wise nothing stood out much, but again it was good enough. I didn't care much for the story in the game, but again it's always been a flaw with the Fallout games. And sure, you might be thinking stop comparing it to Fallout, but if you've played the game then you'd understand that this is literally just Fallout in space. To really sum this up, I thought it was a really good Fallout inspired game that didn't really bring much to the table that Fallout hadn't already done, and that's why I placed it at 4th, because I already have New Vegas and even 4. Third this year is none other than Borderlands 3, and just putting it out there, I actually preferred Borderlands 2 to this game, but that's not to shit on this game at all, because Borderlands 3 does feel way more refined than that game. But yeah, Borderlands 3 in the gameplay department is extremely solid. It basically takes the Borderlands 2 gameplay and mechanics, finds the issues with them and fixes them, whilst improving on what it already had right. And really that's all Gearbox had to do with this game. They really did achieve that, making this possibly the most successful Borderlands game out there. Hell, it got people who didn't enjoy the previous games to actually play this one and enjoy it because it fixes the gameplay issues that were admittedly present in the previous titles. The new worlds that we get to explore are just a bit all over the place, to be honest. Some places that we get to go are stunning, whilst others either drag on too much or just feel weak compared to the other planets in design. The writing in the game is either hit and miss as well. I don't mind the villains, but they weren't no handsome Jack. Hell, I'd say that maybe they're not even as good as Commander Steel from the original Borderlands, who had very little build up at all. But when the writing is good, it's very good. But it does take the meme writing a bit too far sometimes. Graphically, it's amazing. The cel-shaded graphic novel style of the series is really perfected here, and hell, even some of the little textures like grass look stunning. But yeah, the core gameplay is amazing, so if you're willing to look past the writing, then I think you'd really enjoy Borderlands 3. It's definitely one of the best looter shooters out there. At number 2 this year, it's Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. A lot of people would probably give this their Game of the Year, and that's fine, I could totally see where that's coming from. For me though, I thought it was very good, but it did have some issues that prevented it from becoming my Game of the Year. But to really sum this game up positively, this is From Software's most refined game out there. Whilst not related to Dark Souls or Bloodborne, it clearly does borrow elements from those games, and frankly I have no issue with that. It allowed From Software to work upon parts that may have not worked as well in those games and perfect them here. World design, for instance, is way better than those games. There weren't many places that I found myself hating because the design was just bad. The writing is leagues better as well. I've heard the Dark Souls story isn't that bad, but I just couldn't understand a thing about it and I just didn't enjoy it. Here though, I actually felt like I understood what was going on. Graphically, it's stunning. But the real focus that needs to be right here was the gameplay, and well, it's nearly perfect with what it tries to achieve. It's a game that has an emphasis on parrying. You need to time your every move right if you want to get anywhere with this game, because wow, it's hard. This game is really hard, and to be honest, it's the one thing that I've always found hard to get into these games. Sure, I don't mind a challenge, but there's sometimes in this game where I just found it to be outright too much. And let me tell you now, this game is harder than Dark Souls without a doubt. Boss fights in this game are brutal, and possibly just a bit too much, especially early game. I really enjoyed my time with this game, and really, without a doubt, this is deserving of second place for Game of the Year this year, but I do have nitpicks with this game that I do find hard to look past. But I will say that if you enjoy the formula of gameplay that From Software have got very good at, then I think you'll enjoy Sekiro a lot. But before we get to my Game of the Year, let's run down some games that I either didn't think were as good as these games but were definitely worth a mention, or games that I just didn't get around to playing. First off is Hot Lava. It's not a game for everyone, there's not really anything in terms of story here, it's just gameplay, but the gameplay that is here is amazing. I had a lot of fun with this game, which is basically just CSGO Surf but better. Modern Warfare was a pretty good Call of Duty game, which holds the same positives and negatives that you can get from a Call of Duty game. Next up there is Devil May Cry 5. I did like this game, but I preferred the 2013 reboot, which I know is an opinion that will get me shot, but I know that if you enjoyed the original Devil May Cry games, then you'll love this. Code Vein was an alright Souls-like game, and when I say Souls-like, I mean it's quite literally anime Dark Souls. Boneworks is easily one of the best VR games out there, but saying that though, I felt very sick after playing this one. I don't know, I just don't think I'm used to VR enough for this one, but if you're looking for a new VR game, Boneworks is an amazing pick. I also played Crackdown 3, which, yeah, it was it definitely has flaws, but I mean, if you enjoyed the original Crackdown games, then this one isn't too bad. I definitely will say that it is the weakest, but I don't know, if you have Game Pass, then this really isn't that bad. Hey, at least it released. The games that I didn't come around to playing this year were Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Death Stranding, Control, Disco Elysium, and Super Mario Maker 2. I've heard very good things about these games, but I just either didn't have the time to get around to them, or I just couldn't be asked to play them. I mean, £55 for Star Wars Jedi, it's probably very good like I've heard, but I'm not spending £55 for an EA game. But my Game of the Year for 2019 is a game that I was debating a lot about if it was even available to become a Game of the Year for this year, because it's technically not a new game, and it's actually a game from 1998, and it's the Resident Evil 2 remake. But after a lot of thinking and seeing other people nominate this game, I thought, why not? It does enough to distinct itself from the original game by adding new story elements and most importantly, overhauling the gameplay entirely. I adore this game. Resident Evil 2 is perfect to me. It's the ultimate survival horror game out there, I'd say, only rivaled by possibly Resident Evil 4. It's amazing how far the series has come from what it was at the beginning of the decade, from going from Resident Evil 5, 6 and Raccoon City, the latter of which was probably the worst game of the decade, to some of the best games of the decade with Resident Evil 7 and now Resident Evil 2. The gameplay in this game is solid. The switch to the over-the-shoulder perspective does this remake wonders, basically removing the restrictions the original game had. Sure, some people had an issue with the headshots not being insta-kills on zombies, but I like this a lot. I really believe it makes zombies actually mean something again. No longer are they just easy enemies to add to your kill count, now you actually have to make a decision of if it's worth it killing them, because ammo in this game is not common. It's kinda sparse, especially early game where every bullet counts. It's definitely a very good way of keeping this game true to the original game, in which you have to be very lucky to even insta-kill a zombie. The new gameplay perspective also makes this game so much more intense. Like, holy shit, the Tyrant, Mr. X in this game. Fuck me, every moment he appears, the game intensity goes up to 11, as you're scrambling around trying to get to the next area, hearing his footsteps getting closer and closer. The audio in this game is just brilliant. The fact I'm not seeing many people mention this is shocking. This is easily the best audio design of the year. Hell, it's up there for the decade. Just hearing the distinct sounds of zombies wailing about, doors and windows being smacked, the footsteps, rain, it just adds up in a way that no other game has been able to pull off an atmosphere in a while. Also, to top it all off, the game looks amazing. I may have said it before in a previous video, but if not, the RE engine is one of the best engines out there. It's an engine that makes everything look stunning. Really, I hope that Capcom can keep up this brilliance going next year with the Resident Evil 3 remake, because wow, the formula that they had here was perfect. I was blown away by the game in a way that I really haven't been in a few years. This is easily my 2019 Game of the Year without a doubt, and one of the best games I've played this decade. But that's all. Do you agree with my list or not? What would you have as your Game of the Year? Type it in the comments as I'm really intrigued, and hell, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want.